computer. There we go. So here we are, number 5. It's just unbelievable how 5 weeks has just passed like in a fury. And I've been feeling like so much is going on. That's what I wrote in the Facebook group. Like there's so much happening in my world. I don't know if you've been feeling that too, but you just went through this whirlwind wedding, Jody.
Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
So
It was
tell us
beautiful.
about that.
It was beautiful. It was raining all morning. I started to freak out, but I kept telling myself I can't control the weather.
Yeah,
And by 1 o'clock, sun came out.
beautiful.
It was absolutely gorgeous. They came and put up an arch down by the water, and it was absolutely beautiful. It really was. It was
Wow.
very small. It was just the family, but
Yeah, this was your nephew, right?
you,
Your
yes.
nephew. And he came, so it was a distance wedding for them. What do they call that when you
Well, yeah, that he and his wife, they're both from here. They grew up here and kind of dated in high school, and then they kept in touch in college and got back together again when they graduated from college.
Oh,
So this, they're 26. I mean, they're so young.
oh wow.
Um, but it was so beautiful. It really was. Yeah. If I could figure out, I haven't seen, they had photographers, of course, come, and I haven't seen any of the pictures yet. And I got very few myself because didn't, I was kind of in the wedding party, so I couldn't really be. And there were no guests. It was just all of us were there.
Oh,
But we did get a few. When the photographers started taking pictures, I got a few. And if I can figure out how to share them, I will. Maybe I can share it on your Facebook page or my Facebook page. But it
where
was,
in where in Hawaii are you?
I'm in Kaneohe, on Kaneohe Bay,
So that's on the main island,
Oahu. Yes.
Oahu. Yeah.
I'm on the windward, where Christine's office was. Do you remember? Have you ever been to Christine's office?
No, I want
Oh,
to go. We
yeah.
want to have a retreat out there.
Well, yeah, your hair will frizz up immediately. Promise. Yeah. So I'm not too far. I'm about a mile from where her office was.
Oh, wow.
Is, I should say. It's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back when you were seeing her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so wonderful that you got to host your nephew's wedding in Hawaii. I mean,
Oh, it's so funny.
beautiful scenery, beautiful surrounding.
Well, they had this huge wedding planned, of course, and she, being a bride, they had rented a plantation on the other side of the island. It's going to be on the water, but it was on that's the other side, and 150 people. And Dawn, I remember my nephew telling me, I just want to have it in your backyard. And I said, well, you can. I can't fit 150 people in my backyard, but we can try.
Small, intimate group.
And then along comes COVID-19 and solved that problem for him.
Oh, isn't that, I know, it's so interesting how COVID
Yeah,
has opened up things for people in so many
yeah,
ways you never could imagine. I
yeah.
was just having that conversation today. I can't remember. A client was talking about something that oh, you know what it was? He was talking about how he was reflecting. He had gotten very reflective because he had more time on his hands. And he was starting to see things about his life in the past and, how we're always doing the best we can, given how things are looking to us. Everybody does that. Everybody is doing the best they can, given the level of thinking
Mhm.
that they're at, the level of consciousness, whatever you want to call it. So we're so innocent. People are so walking around in psychological innocence until they see something better, and then they can do better. You can't do anything better until you see it. It's impossible. But enough of that little thing. So let's start out with, insights that you've been having as you're reading and I think you're all reading. You're not
Mhm.
listening right now to Sid tapes, but are you all on In Search of the Pearl?
I am.
Yeah. Oh,
I've started to read Second Chance.
you're reading Second Chance for a second time. Oh, cool.
Yes.
Cool. Are you seeing things that you hadn't seen the first reading? Like all of a sudden these added pages happened?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Like
am.
what? What are you seeing this second round, Amy?
Well, in my own self, I'm not trying to figure it out, which is different than the first reading. First reading, I was like trying to figure it out, waiting to like that light bulb to go on, just really being too intellectual about it. And this time I'm just reading the story.
Oh, cool.
So that's what I've noticed about myself.
Yeah. More relaxed reading. It'll be interesting to see if that brings about more insights. I mean, you had beautiful
Yes.
insight last time. I just thought that was so amazing, to see that relatives who it's really easy for us, any of us to have a judgment on a relative that, and we don't know what they're going through.
Right.
Their behavior is coming from whatever their experience is, and how,
Right.
and they could be really struggling themselves. And
Yep.
that's that psychological innocence. They're doing the best they can given how things are looking at them right now. And, it's their life is just too difficult to lend a hand, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. And so when you realize that in the last webinar, I just felt how much more compassionate you were about that situation.
Yeah. I still feel that way. And I still, my next thought is, holidays, how to handle that. I know that George will want to have all of his sisters here, and I don't want to do that, and not because I'm angry, but because I'm tired, and we already, cook and clean and do all this stuff now for his mom since she's living here, and um, I'm not angry about him wanting to have all, his four sisters and their husbands and children. And I'm just,
Yikes. Yikes.
yeah, it's like, you know what? I'm tired. I work full time. We take care of your mom. We do all these things. And I understand that you want to get them all together. I don't want to not do that for you, but I just don't want to do it here.
Where would you love to do it?
Oh, well, I don't want to go at all, but I, I'm fine if another sister wants to take that on. I'll go anywhere, but I don't want to spend my weekend cooking and cleaning and doing dishes and preparing and planning when we already do that on a daily basis.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but what the great thing is that I'm not pissed off about it.
Yeah.
It's just, I would love to do that, but not here.
Yeah.
Let someone else do that in their home,
Oh, yeah.
because we already have so much going on here.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his mom is capable of getting to another place, right? She's mobile. She's mobile.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. If she weren't mobile, that would be one thing. But she's very mobile, and you know, all of his sisters have a home that can accommodate people, and
yeah. Have you
yeah, it's been
mentioned
pretty
that
much.
to George? Have you brought that
No,
up?
not yet. It hasn't real, we haven't really talked about it. It's hard to talk with his mom here, although we can come out to the she shed and talk, but it's hard to talk with his mom there because she doesn't uh, fully understand what we're saying. She's very hard of hearing. She's, Alzheimer's. So um, maybe this weekend while we're away, we can talk about it. But it feels so good not to be angry about it. I'm not
Yeah.
angry.
Yeah.
I have
It's just the way it is.
I have a thought about
Okay.
how you can maybe get to one of your in-laws' houses. When you tell your husband, just tell him, wouldn't it be nice for mom to get out of this house for a night?
Yes.
You know,
Yes. That's a great suggestion.
and then what you could do, I don't know how far apart y'all live, but
Not far.
Thanksgiving at one sister's and or just Christmas at another sister's, and then share it so that your mom gets to see their homes. Approach it that way, and
That's great.
maybe you won't see.
Jody, you really are a wedding planner.
Well,
No, that is
I
great.
have to deal with this Alzheimer thing, and I
It's
certainly
a great idea. Yeah.
I have so much compassion for what you're going through. It's not easy, and if people have never gone through it, they don't understand it.
Right. What I saw through reading the Second Chance book and coming on this call and talking with Lori is that I see now that I don't think, at least 3 out of the 4 sisters can handle the Alzheimer's aspect of seeing their mom not remembering, who some of their sisters are, not functioning cognitively. I just don't think that they can handle it. And I get that. I completely get that. And so that's a great suggestion. I appreciate that.
And I'm going to add one more thing, because when I was going through this with my husband, his sister, she lived in Montana, but she, every once in a while, if I needed help, like if I was going on a trip or something, because I was still working too, she would come and stay with him. And it was probably in a couple, let me think, 2010 or 11, where he was still pretty good. And I had another trip planned for work, and she was supposed to come. I'd bought her the ticket, and I called her and we're talking about the trip, and she said, I can't come. I said, what? And she
Yeah.
said, I just can't do it, Jody. I can't see him that way.
Yeah.
And I thought, at first I was really angry because
Yeah.
I don't want to see him this way either, but
Right.
this is who he is right now. And my own sister who lived here close, and she, we're very close to each other. She couldn't handle it either. And she used to tell me, I'm really sorry, I can't help you. I just can't handle seeing him like that. But when he had a seizure a week before he passed away. And when he had that seizure, she came and she stayed with me the whole week. And he was really at his worst during, that week. But she found the strength somehow to get through it, or to look past it, or whatever it had to. I don't even know what happened in her mind, but even she would say, I don't know how I'm doing this. I can't do death. I can't do, sickness, but I'm doing it. And it was like, yeah, I don't really want to do it either. But I think
Right.
it's important to give them an opportunity. They may think they can't handle it, But I think it's important for them to see their mom, then I went through it with my mom and his mom.
Yeah.
It's part of life, that death is part of life, and how you die, and how you leave this world, you, you, we can't control that really. So maybe
Yeah. And I think,
doing them a favor.
yeah. And I think that being previously, me being mad about it
Mhm.
really didn't help the situation. It's not gonna help them feel comfortable coming to my home. If they're
Right.
already uncomfortable with seeing their mom like that, me being, bitchy isn't gonna, or angry, or tense, if they're feeling tension, isn't really gonna help them
Yeah.
want to come here
No, but
either.
what you were
And I
feeling
saw
was
that.
perfectly normal, if you ask me, because I felt all of those things.
No, I did too. I did too. And I don't feel bad about it now. I just feel
Right.
like now I see that that's not helping.
Right.
And maybe if I am feeling that way, I go away for the day. But I don't want to, if I know that I'm bringing that tension into the environment, then I'll leave. I'll go out for the day with a friend or whatever, so that they can be with their mom without that tension. But I do see now that I think they just don't like seeing her like that. They can't handle it, don't want to handle it, whatever it is.
Right.
It's about them. It's not about me. It's not about that they don't want to help me.
Right.
It's about whatever's going on for them.
Wow. I mean, that's what Sid means when he says seeing in big capital letters. Like, you really saw something in that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
until you saw that, you couldn't help but be angry. Because
Exactly.
that's what was on your eyeballs.
I
How
could
dare
not
they?
see it. Yeah, I couldn't see it any other way.
Right,
I would say, how am I going to see this any other way?
right. Takes an
Yeah.
insight. And you don't even know that the insight is going to apply to this big boogaboo in your life.
Right.
I have no idea. I mean, look at for Sharon, she cleaned out a basement after 7 years of angsting over it. That was such a great story too. How did that occur?
It
How
was
did
a
that?
storage
Some
shed.
insight had to
No,
happen for you to all of a sudden go down there and tackle that.
it was a story I was telling myself. That's one of
Mhm.
the things. A lot of things. I've had a lot of insights, but I'm just noticing a lot of behavior changes, and I don't know where I got it, but I challenge when I have a story. No, I can't do that because of this, or I don't like to. I have all these stories. If I can't do this, can't do that. So I just started saying, well, really? Can I really not do it? Or, that feeling I got, that I get a weird feeling that I've got forever. I mean, we're talking decades. And even cleaning dirty closets, not dirty closets, unorganized and clutter. And it was just like, they have no meaning. I mean, they're things. It doesn't matter. None of them. I said I thought there was a lot of treasures in there, and I found some, but it was just like, it's just stuff. It's not alive. It couldn't. Why would I feel creepy? That was just something I told myself that must have happened, 100 years ago. Who knows? I don't know. But so I'm challenging a lot of stuff like that with the storage. It's a feeling, just things happening. I'm just doing different things. I keep every day. I'm like, oh, look at that. So it's kind of neat. And um, Amy, you deserve a prize. That is the hardest thing in the whole world. The Alzheimer's thing. My last 4 years of working, I became a caregiver. No training, no nothing. I couldn't see it. My other job, and I thought I did it as a part, loved it. And then oh, my first real full-time client, I had a couple and they both had Alzheimer's.
Oh
And
my God.
oh my, I mean, they cussed at me, yelled at me, threw things at me. I mean, it was a very, just a home health person told me it was a toxic situation. And I went, oh yeah, because of, the family, they weren't nice like you. But anyway, I had different clients like that. And then in the midst of all that, just in 4 years, my mother had got Alzheimer's, or well, had no idea. So she was with my brother. So I wish I had the three P's then. But at any rate, that's so hard. So they should say, you need to go to their houses. They have to figure it out. I'm sorry, but I mean, that what you're doing is, I don't know all the help you have and how much your husband, wow, that's a full-time job in itself. It's difficult.
Yeah. I mean, Thelma's not at the point where she is angry or, she's a little bit defiant, but she's normally pretty nice and
Oh, good.
just forgetful. Yeah. But she can't be left alone and she's not eating. And so there's a lot of health issues that are popping up. But it's still a lot. We still have to cook dinner and, care for her on a daily basis while also working full time. So I feel like we're doing all that on a daily basis. Someone can take the holiday and do that one day.
Absolutely.
It's more than a full-time job, I believe, what you're doing, besides your regular work.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
I don't know if any of you caught any of the 3PGC recently. They did an online conference maybe a few months back. I don't remember what month. But there was a woman on there who spoke about her mom having Alzheimer's. And the only part of it that I recall was how she came to feel as though she couldn't communicate with her mother's brain, but she kind of found a way to communicate with her mother's heart, some soul, something like that. I don't know the word she used, but that was what I picked up. I have to find that for you. I have to ask her.
Yeah.
That reminds me of another book. I know of a book that you really will get a lot from. It's called Creating Moments of Joy. And the gal that wrote it,
Okay.
it really was helpful for me because I had, I had no experience as a caregiver. I was working full time. It kind of sounds like what you're going through. And I went to, it was a meeting or something at the Alzheimer's Society here. And she was actually speaking, and she was quite younger than me, maybe in her 30s or 40s, and was taking care of her dad. And she just had such insight. And she put it all in a book. I'm going to go grab the book and I'll show it to you. But get it. It just kind of, it's kind of a, instead of, it teaches you, or it taught me anyway, instead of fighting it or arguing and those aren't the right words, but it kind of just helps you go with the flow with, to see the world through their eyes. And because really the only thing that's important, it's not how you're feeling, it's how they're feeling. Because if they're happy, it's going to make, even though it's a lot of work to take care of them, but if they're happy, it's a lot easier. And I know when my mother-in-law was in the care home, there were people like that were just angry and cussing and yelling and physically attacking people. And, I was very, very lucky. Michael was just a sweetheart. He just was always happy. I mean, he couldn't talk. The worse he got, you know, it gets hard, but at least his temperament was good. But this book, Creating Moments of Joy, and that's pretty much what it's about, is creating moments of joy for that person, even if it sounds like a really stupid thing to you, you know, it's going to be something that will make her comfortable and then make your life easier too. So
That would be great. I mean, I went through.
grab it right now. It's right on the other side of this wall.
Okay. I've already cared for my own family. My grandparents lived with me. Both of them passed away within 12 months of each other, my father, my mother. And the hardest part is that as they get less independent, the more angry they are. And that's so upsetting. It's so upsetting because for me, for like my grandparents, they were wonderful to me growing up, and I just wanted to give that back to them. So they moved in with me, and I'm like, wow, what a great thing. We can have dinner together every night and spend lots of time together. And my grandmother was just so angry about losing, you know, having to move from their home, not being able to drive. It was just a daily battle. And I'm like, oh my God, I was devastated because I wanted to give back to her what she gave me. And there was nothing I could do. At least I felt like there was nothing I could do to make her happy. And now we're in the situation with Thelma, and it's very similar. You know, she doesn't want to have a caregiver every day. She just, everything's like a battle. So I'd love to
Okay, sure, I'm going to show you the book.
not look at it from that way.
You see
Okay.
it? And I'll send you, her
Yeah.
name is Jolene Brackey, Brackey, and you can get it on Amazon. And it's just a great book. Creating
Okay.
Moments of Joy. It's an easy read. It's not, I mean, you can find chapters that are more pertinent to your situation and just read those. You don't have to read the whole thing cover to cover, but it really did help me a lot.
Yeah, it
Puts it
could
in-
stimulate more insights for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what a great insight that was, too, that you realized, Amy, that it was a loss of independence that had your grandmother so gruff and angry. And your grandmother
Yeah.
didn't know, nobody taught her that you can still look at what is rather than
Right.
what isn't. So
Right.
just think, I mean, we're getting older with that knowledge, with that understanding. Whatever happens to
Yeah.
us, things are going to happen to us too. But having that
Yeah.
understanding that it's still a spiritual world we're living in, even when we lose physical stuff, our physical capacities. Well, I love that quote of Sid's, look at what is, not at what isn't. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think a day doesn't go by that saying doesn't come to me because I'm looking at what isn't. And then it's like snaps me out of it. Like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Look at what isn't. That's no fun. But people don't know that. They're just victims of their own thinking because they don't realize how hoodwinked they are by it. So, what a blessing that we're living at a time where that understanding about how the mind works is available. Yeah. So, I mean, can you picture going through these things that you've been through, whether it be creating a wedding or having your partner's mother with Alzheimer's move in, or what have you, cleaning out the basement. I mean, it's like a before and after picture, right? Because I mean, how would the wedding be if had you not known anything about this other side of life, the more spiritual side of life?
Yeah. No, I kind of felt that, as I spent a week or 2 weeks preparing, cleaning the yard, cleaning the house, cleaning, even though there's 10 people. And every time I talked to my sister, she'd say, you don't have to do that. It's just us and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it's a wedding and I want it to be perfect too. But I didn't get angry. She never came over to help. she would say she's coming, and she had an excuse not to. And even the day after the wedding, I was like, damn, I gotta clean all this up now. But
But you're laughing about it.
I am laughing about it because I'm the one that made it all that mess. I'm the one that went overboard, and I wasn't overboard, but just moving furniture in the yard and things. It took a lot of time and energy, and if I had just done what my sister said and do nothing, I wouldn't have had anything to do the day after either. But I did, I thought about that. I catch myself like, oh, where is she? Why isn't she here? It's her son. And then I'd like, no, she told me I didn't have to do it, and I'm doing it. So I'm just going with my plan. And
Was she grateful?
Oh, very. Yeah, she was. I mean, she definitely appreciated it. And she was in the, she had other things going on in her head, like she wanted to be with the kids and as much as she could, and I get it. So I couldn't expect her to come over and clean my yard. but no,
Boy, that story is next to love and understanding in the dictionary, right?
Yeah.
That's an understanding. Wow.
Yeah. No, it was.
Wow.
It was worth it. I thought it
asked you? Did she not ask you if she could help? How can she help?
She did, but she's physically, she's not as able. She just had like double knee surgery, and her husband just had a stroke a couple of months ago. So, and she has an autistic 25-year-old son. She's got a lot on her plate, and she'd come over afterwards and have a couple glasses of wine with me and be like, okay, that helps. That helped. But yeah, it was fine. I mean, I knew that I could have stopped at any one point and it would have all been just fine. And only I was the one seeing the weeds in the yard, or the dead flowers.
Seeing the what? The what?
The weeds in the yard, or the dead flowers in the bushes. Nobody else would have seen that, but I did. So,
what a great feeling it must have been to be able to provide that for them.
It was very. I've had other friends have had weddings here before, but I've never been that close to anyone that they just borrowed the yard for the day. But this was very special, and he's my godson, so he's my buddy.
I think it would be pretty easy for most people to get resentful, though, that they're doing the whole thing for their nephew, and where's the mother of the nephew? What about the mother of the bride? Where was she? By the way,
nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found.
Well, she was taking care of the bride. I mean, the kids came in. They had to quarantine for 2 weeks, so nobody could see them for 2 weeks. So they got out of quarantine 4 days before the wedding. Then it was get the wedding dress fit, get the flowers figured out, So they were doing the wedding thing, and I, I thought about being resentful. I really did, but I caught myself. I was able to, just kind of step back and look at what I was making up in my mind. And it was like, you're not, nobody said you had to do this. You said you had to do this. So
Yeah. Yeah, what a difference it makes to be
it,
able to step back and realize that we're
yeah.
creating this scenario here. We're
Mhm.
churning out this experience. I mean, nothing changed with George's mother, nothing changed with the wedding plans, nothing changed with the basement, and but
Hmm.
your thinking
Yeah.
shifted
Yep.
because you realized at some level, you can't even put words to it because it's got to be at a deep enough level that something transforms in your life, literally. Like you would not be able to go back, Amy. I'm sure you would not be able to go back to being angry
Mm-mm.
about this
No.
circumstance. I mean, once you see something, it's like, okay, I'm at a new level. I'm seeing life different.
Yeah, for
And you
sure.
can't go back to seeing it that old, angry, resentful, crappy way anymore. That's, it's like you're on another rung of the ladder. You can't go back down. That's so cool how that works. Really. I mean, just from exploring, just from having a look at reading Sid certainly helps, but
Mhm.
you really have a look at how thought produces your experience in life as you go through it. It's like life becomes the teacher.
Mhm.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
And it's not like somebody can come along and say, wave a magic wand and say, okay, Amy, you're going to feel compassion for this family. Nobody's going to say, hey, Jody, you're going to be understanding that this is the mother of the bride. And my gosh, they came 2 weeks. They had a quarantine for 2 weeks and then they only had 4 days to prepare before the wedding. I mean,
Yeah.
yikes.
Yeah.
I'd rather be the wedding planner, than having to be, involved with all of that, I think.
Yeah. It worked out fine. It was beautiful.
Uh, so, what else should we talk about? We have about, not a lot, 15 minutes. That's about all. Holy cow, it
Yeah,
goes so fast.
it does.
Yeah, so fast. Do you feel one of the things I was going to bring up tonight was like, it feels to me, am I alone that things are like speeding up? Like I have to, whoo, quiet myself down a lot. It's just so much is going on. Good stuff, a lot. Like, I have to prioritize things. There's like so much coming into my life now. Oh, beautiful things. I was asked to review a book that is called Painless. Do you know um, oh boy, why am I blanking? Hannah Studley. She has presented at a couple of the conferences in the UK. She wrote a book about the three principles in self-esteem. She's writing a book because she had enormous things happen to her. She was mugged 3 times. One time, a kid threw a bike at her and it hit her in the head and all kinds of stuff. And she's like as good as new. You never know that all of this stuff happened to her. I'm reading this book. It's like I'm on the edge of my seat reading it. I'm so pleased that she asked me, you know, do I have time to read this book and write this review? No, but somehow I find it. You could always find time for something that is so meaningful. You just figure it out,
Mhm.
somehow it works. Yeah. So it's a wonderful book. I can't wait for it to be out. so you could read it. And she went through a lot of pain and wound up being part of a pain clinic, helping people with how they think about things.
Mm.
And she is pain free. And she attributes it to what she learned from the three principles. Isn't that wild?
Wow.
Pain free. And at one point, I don't even want to tell you because you got to read it yourself. You just won't believe it.
That reminds me of a book that I read from Dr. John Sarno. I don't know if you've heard of him. He also has a similar concept about pain. And I had a couple of years ago started having a lot of rib pain, like debilitating rib pain. I could still go to work, but I could hardly get through a work day. And
Really?
yeah,
Rib?
my doctor had found a compression fracture in my thoracic spine, but it was an older fracture. I'm not sure where it came from, but I had two bulging discs, and it was pressing on a nerve and creating pain in my ribs. And every doctor I went to a spine surgeon. I mean, that's the field I'm in, is the orthopedic um, field. So I went to a spine surgeon. I went to a pain doctor. Everyone was saying, yeah, it's, you have this compression fracture, it's old, and you have these um, herniated discs, but we can't figure out why you're having so much pain. And I spent 2 years trying to figure out, I tried different medications, different pain medications, injections, and someone had suggested this book to me. And his concept is, you have something in your life that's making you create this pain, whether it's anger, sadness, whatever it is, it's coming from inside. And it's really not about your back pain, it's about something else. And it was amazing when I could pinpoint what it was and just, I wouldn't say let it go, but just sit with it and see that it's there. I swear the pain went away immediately.
She
And
cites
every
Sarno.
time now,
She cites him. Yeah.
John Sarno, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was ridiculed in his field for writing these books.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, wait till you see her book.
oh, I truly believe it. I really believe that we can create our own pain, for sure.
Well, she did. She absolutely did. Fear, a lot of
Yeah,
fear.
yeah.
Can you
Mhm.
imagine being mugged 3 times?
No.
I wouldn't walk out my back door without, being afraid.
Yep.
But she saw it as, it's
Mhm.
just thought. It
Mhm.
doesn't rule us. It doesn't have to rule us. And that's exactly what happened with her. That she was holding on so tight, it was making the injury painful.
Mhm.
She wasn't letting it heal, holding so tight. Yeah. Ah. So how are you finding the other things like the readings from Dear Liza? Those letters just really, I don't know if you got to listen to me reading the letters in Dear Liza. They really got to me.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the Pearl. I've
Yeah.
never read the Wisdom of the Pearl. This,
Oh, what are
um,
you seeing in there?
well, and maybe it's just because I grew up here, but I can really identify with Mama Leah, and I couldn't get a hold of the physical book, so I'm reading it on my iPads, and I'm one that likes to write in my book. And so I'm having to like highlighting the whole book practically. But something I think I'm up to chapter 6, and she's trying to explain aloha to Richard. And something, and because people, I've been in sales all my life, and I've been, worked all over the country, and people would always say, well, what does aloha mean? I mean, I've been asked that so many times, and it's
Aloha.
aloha, and it's, hello, goodbye. How can it mean hello and goodbye? And it's like, well, you got to really understand the Hawaiian language. All of the words have multiple meanings because they only have there's only 12 letters in their alphabet. But she explained it to him, and it's exactly what I used to tell people. Aloha it's more than a word. It's a state of mind. And she wrote that in the book, and I read it. It was like, I can identify her with so many older tutus that I've known in my life. It's really kind of fun for me. I'm sure I'm getting that, I don't know, I wouldn't expect anybody else to get it, but I'm kind of feel very lucky to be seeing it from, seeing that side of it too. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Wow.
Yeah, I
Aloha
like her a lot.
is a feeling.
It is a
Yeah.
feeling. Oh yeah.
You described it, the feeling of aloha.
She does. She describes it. I think it was chapter 5 or 6. I think I'm around there.
But how
yeah.
would you describe it from your experience?
Well, it's a feeling. It's inside you, and it is a state of mind. It is a state of mind. I mean, you just don't give aloha and you don't take aloha. You have to share aloha. It's a word. It's a very simple word. But I have a hard time describing it to people because it doesn't really have an English translation. I mean, there's just so many words that you can use, but she says it so well. And I mean, it's part of her teaching him about his feelings and seeing and
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to read this book a few times too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't started. I did listen to your letters, and I can't wait to read that too. But I think I have to read this book at least one more time when I'm done.
That had aloha, the letters. Didn't the letters have
Yeah.
that feeling of aloha in it?
She breaks it down. How does she break it down? Well, ha, I know, is the breath. Lo is, I think, mind. And
She does write that. It's not here, or I could find
the
it.
Hawaiian
She
words.
does. Oh, it is right here.
Is it? Yes, it's on my
Yeah.
iPad. Unfortunately, I don't have a book I can flip to.
Yeah. I'm sure it's something I marked. I'm like you with highlighters. I can't read a book without a highlighter. Let's see. I don't know. I have a lot highlighted.
I think it was chapter 5.
He talks about his dramatic positive change. I think I got too far ahead here. I've got lots of bookmarks. We could go for 10 more weeks with my quickies.
I'll grab my iPad.
But I mean, there's just so much good stuff in here. It's just amazing. Here it is on truth, chapter 5 on truth. The truth that I speak of is before the formation of thought or form. And when digested, It starts to unfold the mystical qualities of the world we live in. Woo! Well, and then chapter 6 is a hole in time. She says,
Oh, here, I found it.
oh, you found it. Oh,
Well,
okay.
it's easier on the iPad because you can just search for the word. Yeah, wait, I just lost it again. It's, go back. Yeah,
It's worth the wait. It's so good. It's worth the
yeah,
wait.
it
You know,
really, she puts it
we have
so.
a word like aloha. We have a word like aloha. I would say it's love.
Well, yes, of course.
Right?
Aloha means love too. Aloha means love. It means
Yeah.
hello. It means goodbye.
Yeah.
It has a lot of meanings. But okay, so the first mention is, she says, aloha is love. It's on page 30. And then also on page 30, she says, the aloha spirit is what helps to guide us through life. And also on page 30, maybe I need to flip to page 30. Because I'm just on page 2.
Yeah. Something was going on today, and I realized that it occurred to me that, you know, when Sid talks about looking for a feeling, a lot of people, you know, what does that mean? Looking for a feeling, look for a nice feeling, look for a beautiful feeling. And really what it is, from my perspective, is look for that feeling of love. That I can relate to that more, that look for a feeling of love, not, you know, love for a person. It could be, you know, just love. You know, the love for existence, for the beauty of nature, whatever. We fall into that space when we're not thinking so much. We're always thinking, but when our thinking quiets down, we fall into that space of, you know, it could be the simplest thing that you fall in love with, you know, like, I can't think of anything offhand, but I'm looking for something like really little. So you found it.
32. Yeah, page 30.
32. You read it this time.
Okay, she says, aloha has sometimes been defined in this way. A signifies light or enlightenment. Lo means close to the earth. And that's the Hawaiian word for close to the ground, lo.
Wait, what page are you on? It's not on my page 32, what you're reading. Oh, right, because I have the book and you have the.
I have, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's in chapter 5
Oh,
towards the end.
okay.
So lo is close to the earth, and ha is the breath. That's it's the and she says it's the living breath of the creator. By this definition, aloha means enlightenment on this earth through the breath of the creator.
Oh, say that again.
So profound.
Enlightenment on this earth through the breath of the creator. I don't remember reading that. You have a different edition.
I read it 10 times today. So profound, and that's the best explanation I've ever heard for that word.
Wow.
Tried to put that into words for many, 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 many years.
Well, how do you explain that somebody with a 9th grade education wrote that? How do you explain that? Can anybody explain that?
Well, probably because his brain wasn't all messed up with all the information they feed us from the 9th grade on.
That's funny. That was very good, Jody. Right, right. Read that sentence again. I just love that sentence. We got to end, but it's such a good sentence.
Okay, so by this definition, aloha means enlightenment on this earth through the breath of the Creator.
Enlightenment on this earth through the breath of the Creator. So poetic.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it breaks down the word. Is the Hawaiian word for light, sunshine. You know, there's probably 100 meanings that go with
Yeah.
that. One word,
Light.
the word, and then lo, just like is that area. It's not the earth and it's not the sky. It's kind of in between. And then ha is the breath.
The breath of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another word, Hawaiians, when the white man came to the islands, they'd never seen a white man. He was a stranger, and they had to make up a word for that, those people, and they called them ha'ole. Ha'ole. Ha meaning breath, ole meaning no, because when they spoke, if you ever listen to a Hawaiian speaking Hawaiian language, there's a lot of breath in it. But when the Americans, the British, the French that were coming through here, they didn't have that breath coming out through their body and projecting. And it's more than just the sound of the breath. I think it's the feeling of the language. And so ha'ole was another word that now it's kind of derogatory if somebody calls you ha'ole. But which I get called all the time because I don't look like I'm from here, but very interesting language. It's a very simple language, but it's very complex at the same time. They certainly
very spiritual.
Very spiritual.
Very
They
spiritual
are
people.
yeah.
There's, the word shalom in Hebrew is hello and goodbye and peace.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, throughout the cultures, there are things like that. Like ruach is the breath of life. And it means something else too. And I can't remember. But yeah.
Too in the book about her grandfather and the Indian man. There was an Indian that came to visit her grandfather,
Right.
who was also a seer, and her grandfather was a very spiritual man. And she, as a young child, just spent a lot of time with him, and that's kind of how she got her depth. And I'm sure an Indian man had never seen a Hawaiian man before, and vice versa, but they both had the same
language.
Yeah.
Yeah. They understood each other. Yeah. Yeah. That was a really powerful part of the book.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this book.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, we're going to end in a minute or two. Any last words you want to say, or questions, or that's something we never even got into. That question that was asked, which was about since Sid talks about divine mind, what about divine consciousness and divine thought? Or is there also divine consciousness and divine thought? And I don't know if you caught what I wrote in the group, but I was trying to put that up on the Facebook group for Mystery School, and it landed in my personal page, my personal Facebook page. I rarely post anything in my personal page, and I didn't realize that's where it went. It got so many comments. I don't know how that happened. You got to go to my personal page to see. It's a riot. There's like 9 or 10 comments. And they're all people in the Three Principles community, far and wide. But who knew that a question like that was going to stimulate that kind of engagement? Right? And the answers were great. I mean, they really got off on that question. And I was supposed, you know, it was a question from somebody in our group who emailed me and asked that great question. So, I mean, I don't remember Sid actually, I think he probably did say divine thought and divine consciousness, but the way I see it is that it's all divine. You know, the fact that we have the power to think is coming from a spiritual world, right? There's divinity in that. And so those three principles, that's how they're just words, but they're words describing how we take this formless spiritual energy and bring it into the world of form. We're like co-creators here, the creator of the universe, and we're pitching in, doing our little co-creation. And we always have choice, and we don't recognize, you know, do we want to take this angry, resentful road, or do we want to take this understanding road? It's not like we can decide. We have to have an insight that shows us the way. It's not like you can say when you're really angry and resentful, you can't say, okay, I'm going to look for love now. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
But there's something about being open to it. Something that I found that you just, or just knowing I'm in this angry, resentful place. Believe me, I get there. I go there. But man, it doesn't last long anymore. It's like I can't keep it going anymore. It just seems so ridiculous. Do you get that too? You get that feeling too? Like you dip your toe in, you pissed about something, and then you realize, well, that's kind of stupid. Why am I going to go there?
Right. Go back to your happy place.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's instant. You know, it may not be instant happy place, but it's instant. Phew! What a relief! I don't have to do that to myself. So what? So what? Zoom has 5 different ways to get on now, and I blocked off an hour and a half today to take my walk because it was a gorgeous day today. Well, what do you think? I figure I better get on Zoom before I leave because I'm going to come back and I won't have that much time to fuss with it. I'm going to put it up on the screen. I couldn't get it up on the screen. I could not get it up to save my life. I tried to get in there with my Facebook link, with my Google link, because they give you all these different ways to get in now. And I was on the verge of panic, you know, major anxiety. I'm breathing really shallow. And I said, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. I got on the phone. They wouldn't answer me because I didn't have the right 10 digits. I had the right 10 digits, but I didn't have the right 6 digits that come after that. It's a true story. I'm not even making this up. Right? I mean, if we don't laugh about this stuff, I would just be in such a frenzy. And what a thrill when I found out, no, I've got to go in with my my email address and my password. Oh, I'm in. Okay, now I can breathe. Now I can go for a walk. So I got a half an hour walk anyway. And you know, I live close enough. I could drive for 5 minutes and get a nice half an hour walk.
Right.
Why get yourself all in a tizzy? But I did for a while, and then it feels so good to take a deep breath. Oh, wow.
Zoom can do that to you.
What's that?
I said Zoom can do that.
Zoom can do that. Any technology can do that to me.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But a lot of it is because, you know, if I tell myself that I'm no good at technology, that makes it worse.
Right.
Because I buy into that story.
Right.
I'm as good at it as anybody else. You got to just hang in there and wait for wisdom to show up, you know, to tell you where to go, what to do. Well, this has been wonderful again. Yeah. So I'm going to stop the recording, but I'll just tell you something in private. Okay. Let me just, so don't go away yet. I don't want to end that. I just